The Reliant Motor Company was a British car manufacturer based in Tamworth, Staffordshire, England, and their most famous creation is probably the Reliant Robin, a three-wheeled car, produced in three main versions over a period of 30 years. Very unique little beasts that actually saw significant success. However, these days, if you talk about the Robin, well, they've been plagued by lies. Odious, vile lies that have rendered their generally good history, believe it or not, tainted by filthy, rotten, stinking lies. Now, in terms of talking about the Robin, we have to discuss Reliant as a whole, just briefly. Mainly that these small, tri-wheeled cars, by this point, had already kind of become something they were known for. They were pretty good at them, and the Robin in and of itself was designed as a direct replacement for an older design of similar specifications, the Reliant Regal, which started production in 1952. By the 70s, it was decided that they did need a replacement for this older model, and thus they came up with the Mark I version of the Robin, first manufactured in October of 1973. They originally featured a 750cc engine, but in 1975 they made some improvements, and that included giving them an 850cc, so they had a little bit more power. But they were never actually very powerful because they weren't meant to be. The intention of the Robin, perhaps more than anything else, was to be cost-effective. They were small, cheap, and good on fuel economy, and this was during the 1970s when there was that whole oil embargo thing going on. British drivers were very interested in something affordable, and the Mark I version of the Robin was very well received in their particular niche. Despite their minimal power, they could hit 85 miles per hour with the 850cc, only 70 with the 750cc, but still, that wasn't bad for a car of this size. And they were known to be very reliable and, yes, very cost-effective. They could be manufactured cheaply, but not at the sacrifice of being, good cars, like they would work and not break down all the time, and therefore they could be marketed at an affordable price. The final Mark I version of the Robin rolled off the assembly line in 1982. And they even included some limited editions after that, but they did have a replacement, the Reliant Rialto, which was also a three-wheeled car, but added some modern additions. However, they weren't actually done with the Robin. See, Reliant quickly realized that the Robin had really endeared themselves to the British public, at least the ones that enjoyed these smaller, easy-to-work-with, cost-effective vehicles. Not something you necessarily want for a long journey for miles and miles, but for everyday commutes, just bumbling around town. The Robins were nearly perfect for that. So in 1989, they revived the name, producing a new, revamped version of the Robin known as the Mark II. This one featured an entirely fiberglass body, something that Reliant themselves had pioneered all the way back in the 50s. And they gave this one a hatchback design. They even added an estate version as well as a van, and the new Robins did share the spotlight with the Rialtos until 1996. And the Mark IIs also saw some improvements over their life, featuring new 12-inch wheels, better brakes, and an improved interior. They were also fairly well received, and in 1999 they did it one more time, bringing to market the Mark IIIs. With completely new side panels, as well as brand new Vauxhall Corsa front lamps. The Mark III was the first that actually had a computer inside of it, like all modern cars do. And when it came to designing it, they got some interesting ideas. Namely, they thought about introducing a diesel version of the Reliant Robin, which sounds pretty funny, as well as an electric version, which, for a small car like this, actually, as someone who doesn't like electric cars, given what the Robins are for, I think an electric version makes total sense with them, but they never manufactured those. In the year 2000, it was announced that the final Reliant Robin would be built after 65 limited editions of them were produced. They were known as Reliant Robin 65s, and they had very Very interesting specifications. It was a bit of a celebration of them. They were given gold metallic paint, red and gray leather seats, red carpets, walnut dashboards, white dials, mini light alloy wheels, premium stereo systems, electronic ignitions, and gold plaques, individually numbered and bearing the original owner's engraved name, selling them for £10,000 for a Robin. The last one produced was given away by the Sun newspaper in a Valentine's Day competition in 2001. But there were some more produced even after this, just not by Reliant. More Robins were built under license by B&N Plastics in July of 2001. They were permitted to produce 250 of them a year, though they actually didn't even manage that much because of numerous production problems. Their Robins were actually plagued with faults that proved a bit difficult for them to rectify. They did produce two versions, the BN1 and BN2, but those are considered probably the weakest Robins overall just because they weren't built by Reliant. They were built by B&N Plastics, who weren't really 100% on what they were doing exactly. But overall, when it comes to the Reliant Robins, they were considered pretty good cars for their purpose. As three-wheelers, these are not, super de-duper awesome sports cars meant for doing crazy nonsense. They're just for going back and forth in a small commuter setting. And again, for that purpose, they're totally fine. They had very good fuel economy of up to 70 miles per gallon, which is great. And many buyers of them did not regret it for a second. They saved them money in the long run. Another benefit to driving a Robin, back then at least, because even though you'd look at this and say that's a car, despite missing, one of the wheels, technically, under UK law, with a mass below 992 pounds, they could be traditionally driven by holders of a B1 category driving license, as well as being registered and taxed at motorcycle rates, not full-size car rates. That meant that in addition to saving money on gas, it saved you money on, regular government fees. It was £55 cheaper a year than a regular full-size car was. And up until 2001, a B1 license entitlement was given to those who passed the Category A motorcycle test. Though after that year, they changed it, and then they changed it again in 2012, and things get all weird. But the point is, for most of their existence during full-scale production, it was actually easier to be qualified and a little bit cheaper to drive a Robin from a bureaucratic tax perspective. They were neat little cars, and they still have a pretty strong following, but when I started this video, I mentioned the lies about them. These lies, these vile and horrific lies that have tainted the poor, innocent Robins. And of course, for that, we have to go over here to Top Gear. Now, I recognize a lot of people watching this probably are big fans of Top Gear, and I'm not going to question that. The hosts were always very entertaining and had some interesting things to say, but like any high-budget TV show, there are some things that are sometimes shown and implied and even outright stated on there that are just, frankly, a load of bollocks. I say it that way so my British audience can understand me. The first time the Robin showed up on the show was actually in 2007, Series 9, Episode 4, but in that case, they had decided to use a Reliant Robin to create a reusable space shuttle. Which is them just messing around. That's pretty harmless, because obviously they were just, doing something crazy and stupid. And in fact, it nearly worked, sort of. The booster rocket separated cleanly, but the fuel tank didn't detach, causing the Robin to explode on touchdown, so yeah, she died horribly. But the episode I'm specifically referencing when it comes to the lies has to do with Series 15, Episode 1. Reliant Robin that was driven by Jeremy Clarkson for 14 miles from Sheffield to Rotherham was portrayed as being hilariously dangerous to a comedic level, to the point that how was this ever legal to drive? He personally described it as dangerous, like inviting your mum round for an evening on chat roulette. He also said that the Robin wasn't funny, it was a complete menace. During the segment, Clarkson would actually roll this Robin over 6 times. And then 2 more episodes would follow where they put Robins on racing tracks, driven by professional racers, with neither of them being able to finish a clean lap because the Robins kept rolling over. And all this combined to portray the Robin, historically speaking, as an incredibly dangerous vehicle that was prone to failure, and many people, even based purely on Top Gear, genuinely believe that they were imbalanced and prone to flipping. Dangerous. This is all a load of malarkey. Okay, the Robins never had this problem. Never. Basically. I mean, technically speaking, as tri-wheels, you could argue that, yeah, they might be a bit more prone to it than a four-wheel car, but they were never considered dangerous in that regard. The only amount of danger ever implied with the Robin is the same kind of complaint that is levied at a lot of small cars. And then they're small, and in an accident there's less car to protect you. But that could be said about any compact car. The Robins are not unique in that category. When it comes to the flipping, well, frankly, it was all made up for the show. Literally, the Robins were rigged. Their differentials had been modified to allow them to roll over more easily, and they were given unequal-sized wheels, creating an imbalance towards the driver's side. Any kind of rumors you've heard about balance issues are not real. They were based purely on Top Gear lying to people for entertainment value. And this kind of thing really drives me up the friggin' wall. Listen, it's one thing to mock the Robins for their low power, or their peculiar design, or even just not liking them. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. But don't just make stuff up on national television. I'm sorry, scratch that. International television, because Top Gear was a worldwide success. We watched it over here in America too. This is the kind of stupid nonsense that could be easily avoided by just saying, hey, how about, and follow me on this, we just, I don't know, tell the truth. You could still flip a Robin just for comedic effect, while at the same time saying, actually, that wouldn't have happened. We just modified this one because we thought it'd be funny. If you just said that at any point during the actual episodes where you were doing this, that'd be totally fine. I wouldn't have an issue with it. Because, hey, I do stuff for comedic effect all the time. But real talk, no one actually believes, at least no sensible person believes, that Alfred E. Perlman was really a chainsaw-wielding maniac, alright? That's not a thing that any reasonable person would actually genuinely think is fact, But this is believable, and you don't bother to correct it, at least not until years after the fact. Jeremy Clarkson wouldn't admit in the Sunday Times that they had doctored the Robin until 2016. The production team had welded the differential, fitted different-sized rear wheels, and placed heavy sandbags in the passenger footwell, guaranteeing the poor thing would flip over. Why you gotta lie? Why? Why? You guys are funny and entertaining. You don't have to lie. It ruins everything. How can we trust you ever again? Till next time, this is Darkness, and I bid you all a fond farewell.